Okay, so you want to know the secrets to beating those crazy long lines in Paris,
It's
Rick.
just familiar, huh?
Well, that's why we're here today, diving deep into a blog post from Roberta Hill, Paris Without the Wait, 6 years of tips from her blog, Wanderlust Over 70.
Oh, she's got some good stuff in there. Especially because, she lived in Paris for 6 years. So it's not just, a quick trip. It's real life.
It's boots on the ground, first-hand intel. So we want to get those practical, in-the-trenches strategies straight from Roberta to you.
Yep. And, she starts off by saying, let's be realistic. You're not going to completely avoid lines in Paris.
Right, like the city is popular.
Oh, yeah. French bureaucracy, tons of tourists.
Tons of tourists. But she thinks we can definitely make those waits shorter. And that's what we're after today, right? So let's start with the basics. Roberta lays out those general strategies that can really help you avoid, the worst of the queues.
Those universal, common sense tips.
Right. And she begins with, the golden rule. Go off-season if you can.
Makes sense. Fewer tourists means shorter lines, sometimes better prices too.
Yeah, and even a different vibe to the city, a little less hectic.
Uh-huh.
Now, even if you can't swing an off-season trip, she says to hit the popular spots right when they open or, really late, just before closing.
So the early bird and the night owl.
Exactly. And then, of course, steering clear of weekends and holidays.
Seems obvious, but...
But, it's easy to forget when you're planning, you get caught up in the excitement. And then one more she mentions. Resisting those reduced fare days.
Oh, yeah.
They seem like a good deal, but everybody's got the same idea.
Everyone's trying to save a buck, so longer lines.
Exactly. Okay, so now we're getting into Roberta's real hardcore tips.
The ones she's learned from living there for 6 years.
Yeah, and she's very firm on this one. Book your tickets online. Book them in advance. That is essential.
If you don't, you're looking at a separate, probably very long line, just for walk-ups.
Or even worse.
No tickets left.
Yeah.
Sold out for the day. So, yeah. Online booking is your first line of defense in Paris.
Okay. And this kind of ties into the next thing Roberta talks about, museum passes. Now, on the surface, they seem like a great way to skip lines. And when you're planning a trip, it's tempting, right? I'll get this pass, I'll bypass all the queues.
Yeah, but Roberta, based on her experience, she says it's not always the case.
Not always.
Well, yeah, museum passes can save you money, especially if you're going to a lot of attractions.
Right.
They don't actually guarantee you're skipping the line completely.
Right, you still gotta wait.
Might have a slightly shorter line, maybe one specifically for pass holders, but don't bank on just breezing through.
Okay, so museum pass, maybe not the line-skipping magic bullet you thought it was.
Exactly.
Now, what about guided tours? Some people might think, okay, I'll do a guided tour, that'll get me in faster.
Yeah, that's a common thought.
What does Roberta say about that?
She says tours can sometimes have shorter lines, but there's a catch.
Always a catch.
You got to factor in the time it takes to, gather the whole tour group at the meeting point.
Right, because you're on their schedule.
So you might wait less at the actual entrance, but then you're standing around waiting for everyone to assemble.
So it's kind of a trade-off. Okay, there's one more pass Roberta talks about, and it's interesting, but it's probably not for everyone.
The annual museum pass. Right?
Yeah.
Which, for her, living there made total sense.
Oh, yeah.
She says it usually pays for itself after about 2.5 visits, and it often gets you to the front of the line.
Yeah.
But for the average tourist,
not so practical.
Probably not worth the investment. Okay, so we've covered the basics, those kind of overall strategies.
Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the specific sites Roberta talks about.
Where her experience really shines.
Yes. And first up, Notre Dame Cathedral, which, as Roberta points out, reopened in December of 2024.
After that devastating fire and years of restoration.
Right. And now, understandably, the lines are unbelievable.
I mean, it's such an iconic landmark. Everyone wants to see it.
Yeah. But, Roberta has some crucial advice here.
She's all about that advanced booking system for what she calls the short line. Visiting the cathedral is free, but you absolutely have to book your slot online.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right. And here's her pro tip. New booking slots open up 72 hours in advance, and the best time to snag one is just after midnight, Paris time.
To set those alarms, folks.
Yeah, because that's when the next 3-day block of slots becomes available.
She really found that staying up late was worth it.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're avoiding, like, a 2-hour wait.
2 hours. I'd stay up late for that. Okay, moving on to another icon, the Louvre. Now, Roberta actually starts by saying that she doesn't always recommend visiting the Louvre.
Really?
Yeah, she says it's expensive and it can be incredibly exhausting. If your time in Paris is limited, she suggests maybe exploring other attractions.
Interesting. I mean, the Louvre is huge. You could spend days there and still not see everything.
Exactly. But she does make an exception, and this is where her insider knowledge comes in handy. She recently went because of the Louvre Culture Exhibition, which was this really cool blend of art and fashion.
Cool.
Yeah, it ran until July 2025. But her real gem of advice here is about how to get in. Forget the main pyramid entrance.
Oh, yeah, the pyramid. Multiple lines, different ticket types. It's a mess.
Forget it. She says go to the entrance under the carousel area.
Under the carousel. I didn't even know there was an entrance to.
See? This is why we need Roberta.
Right.
Here's the key with the carousel entrance. Only people with the next time slot are allowed to queue there. So no massive crowds building up hours ahead.
That's smart. It keeps things flowing.
Right. And then she's got this little tactical maneuver. Don't get there at the start of your time slot.
What?
Yeah, she suggests aiming to arrive closer to the end of your 30-minute entry window. You'll probably still have a little wait, maybe half an hour, but it'll likely be shorter than if you showed up right at the beginning.
So, strategic lateness. I like it. Okay, last but not least, Roberta's favorite. The Musée d'Orsay.
Especially the fifth floor, all the Impressionist art.
Oh yeah, the Impressionists.
But as you can imagine, it's incredibly crowded, particularly around the famous paintings.
The big names, the Monet, the Renoir.
Yeah. But she points out that there are other amazing works on the opposite side of that same floor that tend to be much less crowded.
Good to know.
Yeah, so if you can't squeeze your way to the front for the Monets, explore some of the other equally stunning but less mobbed pieces.
Solid advice.
Okay, so her first tip for the d'Orsay echoes what she said for the Louvre. Get there at the last minute of your timed entry. But then she tells this funny story about how she and her friend accidentally went to the wrong museum.
Oh no.
Yeah, they ended up at the Musée du Quai Branly instead.
Easy mistake to make. They're both great museums.
Right. But this detour meant they were super late to the d'Orsay, like 40 minutes past their entry time.
Oh wow.
And officially, museums can refuse you entry if you're that late.
Yeah, you could lose your money.
Exactly. So this is not a strategy she recommends, but here's what happened. The staff actually rushed them to the front of the line because they were so late.
No way.
Yeah. So she says that maybe, just maybe, being a few minutes late might not be a disaster, but...
Big butt.
Big but. It's a gamble. You got to be comfortable with the risk.
Yeah?
Okay, so let's wrap up with those key takeaways from Roberta's Parisian wisdom.
The things you absolutely need to remember.
Number 1, online booking.
Non-negotiable.
Museum passes can be helpful for saving money, but don't count on them to make you a line-skipping VIP.
Nope.
Timing is everything. Off-season, if possible, early or late in the day, and even that last-minute arrival strategy.
Right. And don't forget those specific tips for Notre Dame. Book just after midnight Paris time, 72 hours in advance.
Yeah.
And for the Louvre, use the carousel entrance and show up closer to the end of your time slot.
Those are pure gold. And then there's that risky but potentially rewarding late arrival tactic at the d'Orsay. But proceed with caution.
Absolutely. Roberta's insights are like a treasure map for navigating Paris. You might still encounter a few lines here and there, but you'll be way ahead of the game.
Exactly. So as you're planning your Paris trip, or any trip really, think about Roberta's advice. What level of risk are you willing to take? How much do you value your time? Maybe that slightly later arrival is worth a try. Or maybe not. It's all about finding what works for you. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage!